Good evening, everybody. We welcome you to our next or another Cumorah Academy webinar. We're grateful for all of you who joined us today. It will be a great webinar, I'm sure. It is our privilege to have with us Patrik Šedivý, who is our founder, also Jan Bohřelický, who is the Cumorah Academy director. We're grateful for both of you, brethren, to be with us. And we're also very grateful to have with us Miroslav Navrátil, who will be introduced later, right after the opening prayer. But we're grateful for his time and for his preparation. And we will certainly learn a lot from him and from his wisdom and his experiences. So welcome, Mirek. We have prepared more webinars for you. For your information, we will have another webinar in 2 weeks on October 28th. That webinar will be with Sister Ganelin Condi, who is a motivational speaker from the United States. We're looking forward to her teaching about maintaining mental health and about mental healing through the atonement of Jesus Christ and through some professional help. So an interesting topic and something we can certainly learn and certainly explore a little bit more, especially now during the time where we're rather isolated and closed, at least here in the Czech Republic. So that will be October 28th. Please feel free to share the invitations that you will get and the links with your friends, no matter of their age. We want to provide these webinars to whoever is interested. So feel free to share that with your leaders, with your friends, or with whoever you think could like these webinars and learn something with us. Okay. Is there anything from Jan or Patrik that you wanted to say, brethren, at the beginning?
Only I would like to thank to Miroslav Navrátil. I know him personally and he's a great boy. And thank you so much for your help and for your support, Mirek.
Okay. I think we can start by an opening prayer. And Kateřina Kamarádová from the Czech Republic could offer the opening prayer. Is that okay, Katka?
Sure.
Thank you.
Our Father in heaven, we thank you very much for this beautiful day. We are grateful that we can meet together and to listen to Brother Navrátil. Thank you for all of the members of the church and their experiences. And we are grateful we can listen to Brother Navrátil today. We thank you for our Savior and the Spirit, and we pray that you might feel that love. Listen, and please bless that we might be inspired of things we can do in our lives to be better and to make our families and work better and everything that we can do. We love you so very much, Father, and for our Savior can say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Well, let me introduce our speaker tonight, Brother Miroslav Navrátil, whom I know personally, is a great man and great friend of mine. He is a physician, a researcher, and a business person. He has a medical doctor degree from the Charles University in Prague, Czech Republic, as well as MBA degree in marketing and finance from the Chicago DePaul University. He is an inventor, a developer of several medical devices. He's an entrepreneur with 2 successful fundraising experiences, 1 startup turnaround followed by the company sale. And currently he is the founder and CEO of Nihilus Medical since 2012. He has an extensive prior corporate experience in developed and emerging markets. He managed mature portfolios, business development, new technology research and development, clinical trials, and new product launches. He is interested in game-changing technologies and strategies, value and brand recognition building. Brother Navrátil and his wife Jitka, who are parents of 5 children, come from and reside in the Czech Republic, even though, because of their business and research activities, they travel quite extensively. As a matter of fact, Brother Navrátil is speaking to us tonight from Mexico. We're grateful to have him. We're eager to learn from you, and the time is yours now.
It's such a strange feeling to speak to 80% of Czech people here in English. If I wouldn't know you personally so well, I don't have the established record speaking to you in English, but I assume there are a few of you who wouldn't understand our beautiful language. And also it is recorded, as I understand. I love to be a cosmopolitan person. We are kind of nomadic family, and currently we are in a beautiful Playa del Carmen in Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico. We've been here since December last year. Actually, we didn't plan on staying that long, but the COVID and all the other situations developing throughout the 2020 kind of made more sense for us to stay here and work from here and travel from here eventually. So if you hear me well, it'll be awesome. I really like talking to people live because I can see expressions and I can kind of gauge how catchy my message is. Right now I'm talking in a bunch of letters on a screen. So thank you, Patrick. If you're not in a condition to put a camera on, maybe because of the internet connection, just feel free to just give me some hints. Just talk faster or give me thumbs up through the emoticons or something if you like something. That's really appreciated. During the Zoom meetings like this, the feedback is extremely important. So I know only some of you, so I would like to personalize this message a bit. So I would like to start with a few questions, because I know some of you are more looking for a job, change of career type of people. Some of you are thinking about starting a business. So I would like to kind of get a feeling, what have we got here? And both options are great. And I worked for corporate America for some years, and then I started my own business. So my career is in both directions, and I love both parts. And I like actually having my own business better, I think. But there's nothing wrong of being a successful employee. So I might have a few hints for those of you who build your careers in that area as well. So there's that little sign you can raise your hands if it's on when you put the participants. There is a little icon that you can raise your hands when I ask the questions. So how many of you want to get a better job in a near future? You're looking for something. Okay. Let's see. Patricia reacted. Okay. But more, it looks like you are happy where you are. So how many of you actually think about starting a business on your own? Okay, I don't see any. Okay, either you are too shy to show, or you're happy where you are. That's fine too. I've got my response. So what I always liked when I'm a convert to the church. I got baptized when I was 21 in the early 90s. And what I really like about the church and about the scriptures is are the stories of Joseph, who was sold to Egypt, the stories of Nephi. Those guys, they really lived their religions. There was nothing like for them, like now I'm a religious person, now I'm a business person. Or now I'm a family guy, and now I'm in a church. For them, these two things were completely connected. And this is how I always anticipated religion to make influence in my life. I cannot separate things in my life from feeling good about it, like also eternally. I just want to make sense when I do something, even if it's a leisure activity. I want to feel that it's a good leisure activity. If I do a job or a business, I want to feel that it's good, that it's approved of God, and then I can feel His help in it. But I would like to share with you one picture to kick it off with. Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay. So this is one thing which happened to us last week. Some people, they like to watch the Weather Channel more than any other news. We were definitely made to watch it last week. So you see that blue dot on the first picture, that's us last Wednesday, actually. And that was a number 4 Hurricane Delta, actually approaching the coast of where we are right now. And before the Delta turned into number 4 hurricane, it was number 2. And it was aiming to barely miss us. It would be just going 100 kilometers north of us. And I have prayed in that morning that maybe we should just hop into the car and go southward, enjoy a good weekend or a few days with our friends who live south down there, or just rent a hotel and stay away from this. And I had a very good feeling to stay, actually. And then when we talked with Jitka the same morning, my wife, we prayed together if we should stay through this hurricane or maybe just hop the car and leave. And we had a very good calming feeling that we should stay. And so we said, okay. But during the day, all of a sudden the weather news were upping to 3 and 4 stage hurricane forecast. And a 4 stage hurricane is pretty strong one. There's only one higher than that. And that's pretty major storm and damaging storm already. And we felt so good about it. So we just stayed, but the neighbors got really nervous. And we were getting nervous too, because the hurricane, instead of going 100 kilometers north of us landing, it was aiming directly at us this time. And the winds were going to be really terrible. And so we prayed about it again, and we felt like we should do a few more precautious things. And among them, I felt like we should put carbon boxes on our car. So I took a tape and I was putting the carbon boxes on our car. And our neighbors, they saw us and they said, "Have you been through hurricane before?" I said, "No." "So how do you know to put the carbon boxes on your car?" I said, "I just got that idea that it's maybe a smart thing to do because there would be branches and things flying through the air. And if I can save the glass on my or windshield on my car, it will be a good thing." I didn't think at that time it was even inspiration, but I just did it because that idea came to my mind. And then I was looking at the hurricane, and our kids, they had a few weeks ago, they had a presentation. We have a presentation at home on several topics with our kids. They always study something and they show it to the family. And one of them was, I think it was Amalka or someone. She said that she had a presentation about hurricanes, and she said the winds are going anti-clockwise. And when I was watching the right picture, I said, so the winds are actually, if it's going to hit us slightly north of us, the winds are going to come from either south or from the land. So I was getting really busy with the other side of the house, not from the side of the house facing the ocean. But our neighbors, they were all busy with the fronts of their houses. And again, they said, "Do you know something about hurricanes?" I said, "No, not much. I just think it makes sense to look from the back as well, because it will be going anti-clockwise." And so to make it a short story, the hurricane landed, but luckily enough, it slowed down to number 2. We were really praying hard, and we felt like the Israelites were waiting to leave the Egypt. that they knew that something terrible will come, and they marked their doors with the blood of sacrificed animals. We didn't do that with the hurricane, but we prayed. We asked the Lord that we keep our covenants and that we feel that we are entitled to get a special help. So that this house we are right now in wouldn't be harmed or damaged, and that we wouldn't have to move through room to room and hide from the winds and debris. And we felt very good. Although we were still a little nervous, we felt calm. And during 2 hours in the night, the hurricane slowed down to number 2. And when it landed, it was only like a few kilometers north of us. But the damage was not really horrible. There was a damage, but it was not horrible. But our neighbors on the left side and on the right side, they both had problems with their roofs. One of our neighbor, actually, it took a glass ceiling from their roof, and it landed. And we didn't know exactly how, but they found that part of the roof right next to our car, and part of the carbon from our car was on the ground. So, so I felt really good about following that prompting, actually, that I protected our car and that I've got that inspiration. And also I felt like we were blessed because the hurricane was really blowing from the other side of the houses, and we were the first row from the inland side. So although I had no experience with a hurricane, my understanding was boosted by the revelation and inspiration. And I just like to share with you this fresh experience, because this is how I feel about entire life. We are not left alone in this life. We are protected, we are helped, and no matter what the situation is, this general conference was mainly about our ability to keep our covenants and then ask for protection and help to endure whatever comes at us. And just we have this fresh experience that it really works. And I like this. I don't know, you may disagree with me. Some of you who knows basic math, that it might not be truth. What I want to say with this little equation is that when we keep commandments, we are blessed for every commandment we keep. But when we keep all of them, we get more than just the total of, or just a sum of those blessings. It's called covenant. Covenant is much more powerful than just keeping several commandments or even 90% of commandments. If you really try hard to keep covenant as a whole, we have much more protection and help in our lives. And it's in a professional life, it's in our family life, and it's our community lives, like in this case with the hurricane. So this is like game-changing first presidency message from my life. It was in 1999. I was a few months back from my mission, and I was actually finishing last year of medical school. I left for my mission after the 5th year of medical school. And everybody was telling me, you're not going to finish medical school. You left for 2 years. How will you ever remember for the 6th year, which is only like passing all those important exams? How will you ever remember everything you learned before? And I felt really, really strong help and connection after I got back from my mission. But I also felt one more thing, that if I would be a young doctor, it wouldn't be easy. In the late 90s in Czech Republic, young doctors were not paid at all. People at the factories were getting higher salaries 2 or 3 times even, just working at the belt. Young junior doctor just out of the school was getting about 6,000 Czech crowns, which was at that time $250, I believe, a month. So all of my colleagues from the university, they were living with their parents for another 4 years, basically to just manage to stay alive somehow. And I just didn't like that that situation. And I was thinking like, but I've studied for it like that long, and I like it, and I would like to be a physician. What should I do? And then First Presidency message came around in February of that year, and President Hinckley dedicated one part of that message to choosing your career when you're young. And he said, you don't have to be a multimillionaire, of course. We say you want to enjoy the time spent working, I said, oh yeah, I definitely would enjoy being a physician. I really like that. And he said, you need enough to provide well for your family. I said, that's a problem. That's a challenge. And then it should be stimulating and thought-provoking. And I thought medicine definitely would be. And it should improve the society, which in medical case would be also perfect. Thank you. Excuse me. I'm happy to have an assistant here. It's a pretty dry air from the air condition here. It's 30 degrees Celsius outside. If you want to envy me, believe me, it's nothing to envy with a humidity like this. So basically, my medical career was about clicking all of these points, but the one where I wouldn't be able actually to provide for my family, and I wouldn't have time for service in the church, because young doctors, they need to do duties and all the things. In Czech Republic, they are pretty abused, even more than in the United States in terms of their time. And I prayed about it, and I felt like maybe I should think about changing my career. And then I caught a sentence from President Hincklife's first presidency message, which you see down here. If you choose wisely now, like I don't see through the cameras, it is not likely to become a requirement. And I felt it's a kind of a prophetic promise. If you choose wisely now, before you jump onto career, or maybe even if you're in a career, it is not likely to become a requirement that your wife would have to work as well, or that you would have to basically compromise on any of those points above. And I was sitting and thinking, and then I said one sentence, which I hated to hear from the people when I served my mission. And I don't know if you had a similar experience, but on my mission, I very often heard people, I served in Russia, I very often heard people saying, it's easy for you boys from the West to tell us how we should live, but we live in Russia, and not all the commandments can be kept here. We are living in more difficult circumstances than you can imagine. And I always remember how I show when people told me that I knew that they live in difficult conditions, but I always felt that Lord really prepares the way, no matter where you live. And if there's a prophet is a prophet from the entire world. And but when I was sitting there, I said to myself the very same sentence. This is easy for people in America to decide and choose a profession which leads to fulfilling those promises and points. The system is built that way, but here it is much more difficult where I live. And when I said it, all of a sudden I remembered, I heard those voices I heard from my investigators and people I heard on my mission. And I felt so ashamed that I was feeling that way. And I repented on the spot. I apologize that I had such a small faith, but that I don't really see how I can become something which meets those conditions. But I prayed with a faith, and in that prayer, I had a very good feeling that the Lord will take care of me, that there will be a way. And I started to look, and few weeks later, I got a phone call from my friend. Some of you might know Tomáš Audrlický from Hradec Králové. I was his counselor in the branch presidency before I left for my mission. And he said, I cannot go to sleep until I call you. I'm trying to get sleep, but I cannot go to sleep until I call you, even it doesn't make sense. So I said, will you tell me? He said, well, we had a meeting in our company, and they said they're going to look for someone to start their business in Russia. And I know that you're going to be a doctor, but your names all of a sudden popped up in my mind, and I could not get rid of that feeling that I should tell you. So I'm calling you that this was this meeting, and they're looking for someone, and that's it. And I thanked him, and I really felt connection with that prayer. And I called the HR in that company, and I found out what's needed. And they told me, well, you will need 3 years of international business experience. You need to be fluent in English and Russian and a few more things and be in medical device industry. I said, well, English, Russian is no problem. 3 years in 2 to 3 years experience was a problem. I was still in a medical school. So I prayed and I asked the Lord, why do I feel good about this opportunity if I don't meet the requirements? And the answer was almost a sentence, you do. And I said, how I do meet those requirements? I was not in international business. And all of a sudden, I got an idea that during my mission, because I spoke Russian so well, because we were taught Russian during the communism, I was getting so many assignments for the church, which were not spiritual, which I hated during my mission. But these were like renting buildings, talking with government officials, getting missionaries to the hospitals, getting them from the hospitals, bailing them out of police stations and things like that. And all of a sudden, I put those things in order and I put them into my CV and I sent it out. And Tomáš Adrlický then called me and said, Mirek, you have no chance to get this job. There are 47 people interested and some of them are already directors of some companies. And you're just a student and I don't want to really feed your expectations with something positive. I just want to manage your expectations. And I felt like, you know what? For some reason, I feel good and inspired to carry on. And what happened was that I got invited to interviews. And those interviews went extremely well. They checked my language skills in Russian. There are a few directors of the company from old communist times who spoke perfect Russian in their 60s. So they checked my Russian. And then I met my future bosses from South Africa and from United States. And I didn't understand the South African lady. She had a very tough English accent, but I could understand the American guy. And we kind of liked each other, but he said, hey, I would like to ask you about this experience. You said it was during your church mission. May I ask, what kind of church was that? I said, yeah, it was a Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And he said, a Mormon church? I said, yes, that's pretty American church. And on my mission in Russia, I spent my 2 years of mission explaining to people that this is not American church. This is Church of Jesus Christ. But here I have a gentleman from United States apparently getting excited that this is an American church. I said, well, you're right. This is still pretty American church. And he liked the fact he had some good experience with the church members before, I could tell. And then he said, well, we still need to decide. We'll let you know. And it took them 2 months in the summer, actually, to make their minds. But then they finally called me that I was accepted. And I visited with my new boss and I asked him, why did you hire me? Because he told me, I'd ask him like, will you tell me what I'm supposed to do? I said, no, you're the expert for the Eastern Europe. I was forced by my bosses to hire someone for Eastern Europe. And I said, you were forced? I said, yeah, because I was in Russia, I spent there some time, and I don't believe we can have a successful business in Russia. I said, so why did you hire me? I said, well, because CEO of our company had a dinner with the directors of the Czech factory in Hradec Králové, and they told him that the Czech people have a special connection with Russia and they can be successful in Russia. And I was forced to find someone. I said, so why did you hire exactly me? Would you tell me? He said, well, because what I like about you, I wouldn't ruin your career if this doesn't work. You're still going to finish the school. You can be a medical doctor if this doesn't work, and be happy. And my conscience would be clean. I said, so you really don't believe this is going to be successful? I said, no, sorry. So this was my first job. But I got a title of manager, actually. And I got a very good salary, multiple folds of what I would get as a medical doctor. And I was using my specialty because I was training Russian doctors and actually using top technologies. So I was using my medical skills as well. And I got my budget and independence because my boss didn't believe it will succeed. He was not managing me at all. So I had an entrepreneurial kind of a job. and it started to work. And I became successful, and it kind of boosted my career in that company. While I'm sharing this experience, I'm taking already kind of a few minutes talking about it, but I just want to say, a few people ask me, whom did you know in that company that you could land such a good job? They asked me like 1 year later or 2 years later, that I skipped all the parts of the letter of that I just became a manager and the director later on, just without going through some lower letters of the corporation. And I said, well, I just know the guy on the very top, you know. And they thought that I know a CEO. I was just making fun of them, but I definitely meant someone who is higher than the CEO. And what I later found, that meeting between the CEO of that company and those Czech old structures, communistic guys who told him that they should hire a Czech guy for the job, happened in February 1999. The time I was reading this first presidency message and the time I was praying to get a special opportunity. So this was a miraculous start of my career, and there was so many more things happening. Since that time, when I was inexperienced in my job, I was sometimes praying what I should do. My job was to appoint and find distributors in those countries, and I almost didn't make mistakes because I always asked God, do you approve of my decision? And very often, the more fresh and inexperienced I was, more frequently I was getting inspirations. Later, it was more directional guidance, but initially it was very specific. My boss later even asked me, Mirek, tell me more about a Mormon church. I'm Catholic, but I'm not really practicing Catholic. Tell me more about it. I said, well, do you mean how do we differentiate from others? Or say, yeah, how about the principle of revelation? He said, revelation. I said, yeah, do you understand that word? Because, you know, in Europe, we all speak English, but it's kind of a gibberish English. We always joke that broken English is the official language of European companies. But he said, yeah, revelation, I understand it. So we just believe that we can get revelations for anything in our life we need. And we very often get our answers. And he said, well, like what? I said, well, you are my boss, so I can tell you that like even our jobs. I said, what do you mean by jobs? It turned into a performance review, actually. The moment I mentioned I use a revelation during my work, he got really interested. And I said, like, give me an example. And I told him, like, when I appoint distributors, I meet with them, I interview them, I make up my mind, and then I pray and I try to get direction which distributor is the best, if I made the right choice. And he said, well, what do you mean? You mean that you get God's approval on your choices when you select distributors? Exactly, that's what I do. Of course, I seek your approval too, Peter. I told him, but you know, I haven't made many mistakes. And I said, yeah, but it's you because you're smart. I said, this is the first time you told me that I'm smart, actually. But I could feel the Spirit was there. He could feel it. I could feel it. And he was not talking all of a sudden. And I told him the sentence. I got inspired, and I told him, you know, we use consultants. They are expensive. We use them all the time. We pay them a lot of money. But if you can use the best consultant in the world and in the universe, you can have him 24/7. You can have him for free. Why wouldn't you use him? And he was just pale. He was looking at me because he felt the Spirit at that moment. He couldn't tell what it is. And then the dinner was over. They went to the bar, and I was going to the hotel. And the next day, during our business meeting, my colleague told me, I said, what did you tell our boss during the dinner? I said, what do you mean? I said, we were at the bar and he was talking all the time about revelations, Mormons. And I said, oh, means I made a point. I felt really good about it. And I will share one more story. Maybe some of you already heard those stories, so I apologize if you did. but they were kind of pivotal because this same boss, when he joined our company, his first task was to get rid of people who were not performing, to change the whole organization. So he immediately fired 30% of my colleagues. He demoted or reshuffled with positions another 1/3 of my colleagues. And he kept only me and one more person or two more people in their jobs, basically in that European management. So, and he was not happy with me. He kept me there, but he was not happy. He was all the time telling me how he's unhappy with that and that. And it was really, I was miserable with him. And then he brought a new innovation in under those circumstances. He said, you guys, we always are very unproductive when we have our meetings in Brussels on Monday or Tuesday, because the whole week is lost. Let's have those meetings over the weekends. So we all arrive on Saturdays, and on Sunday nights we leave Brussels, and then you can have a full productive week. And from all my colleagues, everybody nodded. People didn't like it, but no one said anything against it. And I had an interview with him, and I told him, Peter, I'm happy to come to Brussels for Saturday, but I won't participate in your meetings on Sunday. Sorry about it. And he knew why. We had enough of discussions, so he knew that it's a church, and I believe it's a commandment. And said, Peter, I will work hard all other days. I would work twice. I'll work 16 hours a day. You can have me, but you cannot have me on Sunday. Sorry. And he got really angry, and he said, Mirek, why would the company? He said he made a mistake. He didn't say, why should I tolerate it? Why would the company tolerate this to you? And I didn't want but when I said it, my mind got opened, and I heard myself telling him, maybe because we are an American company and we don't discriminate based on color of the skin, sex, religion, or any other things. So if we are in this kind of a company which has those values, sorry, I will keep my standards, and I'm happy to defend them against the CEO of the company as well if needed. He didn't talk to me anymore. He just left the room. I thought I'm fired. The opposite was the result. The weekend meetings were canceled. Our monthly meeting were always Monday since that time. And he even was so angry that he told a few colleagues, so I knew that he told them that it's because of me. And they told him, oh yeah, Peter, that's so bad. Yeah, they didn't admit that they were happy, but they admitted it to me. And some of them even thanked me for that. And I thought it was a blessing for me, but ultimately I was a blessing to my colleagues who were not of the same faith, but who didn't like it and who didn't have a courage and faith to oppose it. And I felt all of those things I'm sharing with you today, I wouldn't have that help if I wouldn't keep my covenants. I had a full right to ask the Lord what help I needed. And sometimes I knew upfront, sometimes I was helped later, but I always had it in those critical moments. I needed it. And I want maybe two more. Yeah, two more stories. And then I will leave a time for you who want to ask something. But I feel like I would like to read to you from the scriptures of my life today. That what the old prophets lived, or what in the Book of Mormon they lived, that we can live it today. That we can have the same help as they had. And one of them was when this company I worked for finally got sold to another larger corporation. And I didn't like that company. I was ready to leave. And I actually left. And I felt I should wait until our third baby gets born and then look for another opportunity. So we lived from the money we earned before for about 8-9 months. And then when the baby was born, I asked the Lord, you told me that I should look for opportunity after a baby is born. What should be the direction? And not a long time after that, one physician called me and told me, you know, the company which you worked before, they got sold to another company. They don't care about this particular device at all. And we feel bad about it. They just bought your company for other reasons than this part of the portfolio. And we need support. And I felt like there is an opportunity there. And I called my former colleague, and I was going to tell him that maybe we should try to think that there's a gap in the market based on which happened during those big acquisitions when bigger companies were buying on mid-sized companies. And I was calling him on Skype, and he said, I have a business idea for you. I said, so tell me first, I have one for you too. And he said, well, I got a phone call from a physician and about this device that this is not supported by any of those companies. And he actually used to work for a competitor, but for the same kind of a device before. And so he had exactly the same business idea, basically. We were just coming from different angles. I said, I was going to tell you exactly the same thing. That's interesting. So we basically formed a group, and it was 2008 and 9. And if you remember, if you're old enough, this was the middle of the crisis after 2007 crash. So the fundraising was nearly impossible at those times. You asked for money, you didn't get anything. But we formed a group, we created a project. I moved to California for this project. And we were going to fundraise the money for this. And it required about 5 months of work to get the fundraising right. And so Jitka said, let's get kids and we can go together. Let's not get separated. So we were packing all our small family at that time of 3 kids and 2 of us. And I just found a quiet moment, and I kneeled in prayer, and I said, we are moving to United States. We are going to spend a lot of money on project before we are going to get paid anything, if anything. Is it a smart idea to go? And there was no answer. I felt a little uneasy, and I said, okay, I will ask more directly. I asked God, is this project going to be successful? I asked in the prayer. And all of a sudden the answer was no. It was clear no. I said, oh. So, but I collected myself and I collected a faith. I said, but I feel we should go. Should we go anyway? And the answer was yes, go anyway. So we moved to California. We rented an apartment. We worked on a project, and we got the funding. And everybody was happy. We were celebrating in New York that we'll be getting funding for this project. We were the first group who raised money from private equity fund and after the crisis. It was a success by itself. And all the colleagues were happy. And they were looking at me and saying, Mirek, you're not happy. How come? So, well, I don't know how to tell you guys, but I think we will hit the wall. This is not going to fly. And I said, why? We just got money. And when we get money, we will make it fly. So, yeah, I believe what you say, but believe me that I have a feeling. But we should have done it anyway. It's important. And so a few days later, we got a phone call that the seller of the asset didn't agree on the transaction, and basically the whole project collapsed. And I asked, so what's next step? I'm here. I completed the phase 1. I knew about it. It's not going to be successful, but it was a part of the plan. There was a bigger plan in this. And the plan was that we were the first successful group in fundraising after the crisis, and people started to know about it. And there was a distressed startup company. And my colleague, my friend, took a CEO job in that because he just needed a salary. He didn't believe in the idea. But he asked me if I can look at it and see how is this company doing. So I did my analysis. I traveled on my own money to Washington, D.C. hospitals to see how it works. And I told him, Paul, this is that much gold under that much of a soil. We just need to wipe the soil of the gold and make this company running again. We will sell it. I guarantee you. And within 6 months, we can sell this. I said, I just took this job just to feed my family, and people are here distressed and everything. I said, believe me, let's just keep going. So we did. Also, to make it short, we sold this company exactly 6 months later, and we got a really nice payoff. And it was bought actually by the company I left before. So because I didn't like that company, I left again and I started my own business this time. So I have a stories like this from my professional career. What I would like to make of it, we should not really forget about using revelation, and we should not forget business. In using covenants kind of sounds weird, right? But I think the best is expressed in this scripture. I Lord am bound if you do. He said, if we agree what he says, but if we do what he says. Sometimes we get carried away that we feel good about the talks in general conference. We feel good about the Sunday meeting, something part of it. If we do Christianity, I felt the Christians were missing power element in their lives. They were nice people mostly, but somehow I felt they're not very practically connected with the needs of life. What attracted me on the church when I got converted was that I saw that some members actually had power. I could feel it, I could sense it, that they had a real faith, and that real faith was connected with I feel and I do. And it's extremely important. And whenever I had those special helps, and I had my weak parts during my life, but whenever I had those miraculous turnarounds in my life, professionally and personally, it was always when I had that do part in my life. And it's extremely important. And so one more thing, if you can still bear with me. I had a big, terrible back pain in about that time, 2007 roughly. And I could not even hold my daughter Amalka when she was newborn. I couldn't hold a baby of 4 kilograms heavy, maybe not even that. I visited all kinds of physicians and no one was able to help me. And I prayed and I had a very interesting feeling in a prayer. Ask Jarda Kraus, who was at that time the fresh Melchizedek priesthood holder. He was 19. He was about to go on a mission. And he never gave a blessing to anyone. And I had a feeling to ask him for a blessing for my back. And he was almost like our son, you know. And I asked him, and he didn't wave. He just said, "Okay, how should I do it?" So I told him how to do blessing, and he gave me a blessing, and it was his first blessing. And he was taught me he was taking no prisoners. You know, sometimes people think, well, Mirek, he's my branch president, he's a physician, he knows a great deal about the back pain. Who am I to tell him? But he was really using the priesthood power. And he told me with a power and authority, he told me, you should learn more about this problem before getting this taken care of. And there is a solution and you have to learn it. And I did. And I studied it a great deal. And I found a great physiotherapist who helped me. And I learned what was my problem actually, what was causing it. And when I learned it, it was so simple. And a few years later, I still saw that it's a clunky process of few months of learning for those people who need to learn from physiotherapists how to take care of the stability of their backs. And one day I decided I created a device which worked actually, which is shortening the time for people to learn from weeks and days to hours, basically, hours and maximally days. And this was my hobby project. This was not bringing any money for a long time, but I liked it. It was a good thing to do, and it was inspired. But it was one of my inventions. But to tell you how the invention started was by getting a blessing from a 19-year-old Melchizedek priesthood holder, and I was not indifferent. That I already knew how to take care of my back, but I felt like I should help other people. So even inventions and business plans are always rooted in something greater than we are. That if we always think about others, what others need, we get helped. I know that the time is flying, so I probably will skip 2 questions. I have a few more stories, but I feel like I'm talking for too long. So I know I was not sharing any more practical business things. It was more rooted into spiritual things. But feel free to ask or comment or.
Well, I have a question.
Mhm.
So it's me, Ueda, and I'm studying business actually, and I still don't know which way to go. You know, a marketing part, management part, or a general business. So which one do you think is the best for today's? Because I have seen marketing is really important for businesses, but I know the management is also really important. In your experience, which one do you think it's most needed in a business? I know they complete each other, but
no, it's a perfect area for asking the question. And I actually had a probable feeling today that we should be talking about those things. You know, I would have to know you better probably, but you know yourself. So I think it really depends on you. Recently I read an interesting article that whatever you like doing when you're a teenage, before thinking about any jobs and things like that, your talents tend to emerge when you're in your teens quite strongly. And because these talents are not typically being a quarterback in American football or something noticeable in high school, sometimes those talents are discounted, but they emerge anyway. So, and also this new program, Youth and Kids, is also kind of going this direction. So I would almost say, are you good at putting things together, managing things, getting them organized, or are you able to see what's important, what's essential, the structure of things? You know, these things kind of should lead you. You know, just what you're good at. You know, for example, we had once a quality manager, to give you an idea. She was new, and she was teaching us a quality management, and she was breaking out things into tasks, and she didn't have to think about it. She was putting sticker notes, like 20 of them. Out of one step, she broke it down to 20 steps in no time, and I would never be able to do that. She do it like no effort at all. So
yeah,
this is
I got it. Yeah, but it's like I'm in all areas. I find myself good in all of these kind of areas, and that's why sometimes I find it really good, you know, because if I go and manage a business, I know I'm gonna do even the marketing part, or I'm gonna give ideas about financial thing. But sometimes I think, well, I should go in one way, not in general. But I find myself a little bit in all of these areas. That's why I find it sometimes confused, and sometimes I say I'm lucky because I have those talents. But that's why I asked, which one do you think it's better for today?
That's your answer, actually. You are lucky that you have both. And if there's a advice I give most frequently lately is become a hybrid person in 2 or 3 areas, ideally. So if, you know, in my case, I'm a physician, but I became a business person, and then I became an engineer almost. So this makes me unique. You know, if I would seek an employment, I would be easily looking for a job. you know, because I can do 3 things well. So if you can do things well, you are become unique. You become sometimes you scare people with this, but there's always an opportunity waiting for you. So become a hybridized person is a good thing, actually.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah. There was a question in the chat, I believe, right?
Yes, that's right.
It's from
From
Hinek.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a challenge you would have one to commit to start a successful career? I think it's connected to what we just talked about. You know, you can become an expert, like world level expert almost. If you give something 2 years, you're becoming a really expert. You can get to understand things in 3 months. So what I would say first, jumping before the question is, don't be afraid to change career or direction of your career. Our parents were told, like, once you become something, this is what you do until you get retired almost. Not necessarily. You know, I was going to become a physician. Then when it made sense, I moved to business. When business got boring to me, I moved into business development and marketing, strategic marketing, and then clinical. And then I started my own business, starting to be an inventor, even not being an engineer. I had to manage engineers. So now when I talk with physicians, they don't think I'm a physician. They think I'm an engineer. So you learn if you give certain time to things, you can actually move from one career to, and you can become expert in different areas. So I think it's so the best challenge is to find a commitment to become an all through, whatever the best English expression, learner, throughout a life learner. Basically, you can help me with better expression in English. This is I think the most important, because then the world is changing. You know, if it would be young teenage people, I would say, no matter what your talents are, get acquainted with coding so you understand the programming at least a little bit. You don't have to become developers of software programmers just to get to know it. You can be a biology engineers, you can understand DNA, but you will need to understand computers. You will need to understand artificial intelligence, a little bit at least, because you can always manage people who know how to code, but if you don't understand it at all, you cannot manage them. So we had a friend in St. George, Utah recently. He likes the genetics, biology, and I felt I should tell him, have you started programming yet? He said, no, but I would like to. I said, well, do it, because I'm studying biology. And I said, well, make sure you learn another thing on the side, because you need to be hybridized in these days. You need to understand how the AI, how the technologies are going to work. Things are moving into robotics more and more, artificial intelligence. So most of you can Google where the jobs are going. Just ask in the Google this question, and you will get a list of jobs. And they are kind of overlapping. Even if you scroll to the next page of the Google, they'll be looking all the same. So healthcare is booming, but healthcare is only like number, bum, bum, bum. First is artificial intelligence, augmented reality, data analysis, computer security. So you guys don't have to like computers like much, but they are living with us. So if you are in one area of your life, you like whatever, you're professional in teaching or something, or I'm trying to look at your pictures, or you're an attorney, and the time will come when there's almost no way around if we don't understand the basics around what's coming, the flood of artificial intelligence. And so some of us will be just users, you know, but if you want to be managing interesting projects, you will need to dip your toes into the areas of which are developing rapidly. It's definitely genetics, automatization, artificial intelligence, because they will touch all the areas, whatever your professionality is. That's my advice and challenge.
All right. Well, thank you for the questions, and thank you especially, Mirek. As I talked to Mirek before the webinar, he said that he wouldn't be where he is right now without personal revelation and without the Lord. So even though he is a successful businessman in the medical field and the medical research field, he says that that is because personal revelation that led him up to this point. So I can testify to you that this is true, that we can and should use personal revelation in our daily lives, as President Nelson has said so many times. Well, before we close, I would like to remind all of you that the next webinar will be in 2 weeks, October 28th, with Sister Ganelin Kondi. It will be about mental health. So an interesting topic again. And the recording of today's webinar will be available to you shortly in the morning, tomorrow morning at the latest, so that you can share it with your friends. And don't share it publicly as usual, but feel free to share the link that we will send you tomorrow morning. Well, I think it's time to close. Again, thank you all for participating. Thank you, Mirek, for your words and for your teaching. And at the end, I would ask Ueda for the closing prayer, please.
Yes. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this inspiring meeting that we had, and thank you for every difficult situation that gives us a powerful lesson. We love you, and we are grateful for all the knowledge that we have in Gospel of Jesus Christ. Please make us live the way Brother Navrátil mentioned. Please give us patience and power to choose wisely today and become successful. We love you, and we know you love us too. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you.